Thank you, Madam President. First, let me just address some things that I heard from my colleagues who spoke on the bill. The notion that this conference or this legislature doesn't care about victims is directly contrary to the record. Just a few weeks ago, we passed the Fair Access to Victim Services Act, where only 4 of my colleagues on the other side joined in on that effort. But this is something that would give more access to resources for victims, that would allow for them to get the compensation that they deserve, but that my colleagues who have spoken eloquently about victims decided was not good enough for them. One colleague mentioned the recidivism rate, and we have empirical evidence that shows us that individuals who benefit from sealing of their records do have a lower recidivism rate, and it is in fact lower than the offense rate for the general public. I've heard a lot about accountability and people taking responsibility, and again, I would underscore that this bill does nothing to affect the current adjudication process. If you are convicted, you will serve your time, and you still have to remain crime-free to benefit from this. And on the notion of immunity for jobs, I would point out that in the negligence context, and many of the lawyers in this room are familiar with that, there is a knowing requirement for negligence, and by definition, if the record is sealed, the employer does not know and thus should not be held liable in a negligence claim. And I'll lastly say that on, just to address some of the comments that were made, that individuals who are eligible for sealing under our current statutes, only 0.05% of those who are eligible have taken advantage of it. That is both a demonstration that they don't know about their eligibility, but also about how onerous the process is. I want to thank our leader, Senator Andrea Stewart-Cousins, for bringing this bill to the floor again, and thank her for her steadfast dedication to helping the millions of New Yorkers with conviction records. I want to thank my colleague in the other house, Assemblymember Catalina Cruz, who helped shepherd the effort in the Assembly, who passed Clean Slate today. And I'd also thank Speaker Hastie for allowing the bill to come to the floor. I had served a year in this office when I met a young brother named Zaki, who is another great person in the lineage of people with names that start with Z. And I had coffee with Zaki, and Zaki told me about his story. Had a conviction, really wanted to give back to his community because he was the most credible person. And he got a job and was doing what he loved. But once they found out that he had a conviction, he was let go. And all of the people that he was helping and that he could influence now did not have that individual simply because he had a conviction record. And his story, of course, is not unique. 1 in 7 New Yorkers have a conviction record, which means that if you look around this room, even in the seats, that there are people with conviction records that are in this legislature. But you don't know that because people don't advertise that. The same way that you don't advertise the worst thing that you've ever done to everybody. But imagine for just a second if at every interview, every job application, every time you wanted to get a house, find some place to live, The person on the other side said, I just need you to tell me about that worst moment in your life. Every single time. What are we doing? We have a higher unemployment rate in this state than the rest of the country. And we have millions of people ready to go to work, but we shut the door on them every opportunity we get. We marginalize them. Okay, you say, I get out. I want to do better. You're released from supervision. Say, okay, I'm going to go apply for a job. You apply for 10 jobs, all 10 say no. Said, all right, well, maybe I'll go to school, get my education. Maybe they will take me then. You go apply for financial aid, and they say, oh, you have a conviction? Not eligible. Okay, so you can't go to school, you can't get a job. So, well, I got to put a roof over my head. I don't know how to deal with this. I've been locked up for 20 years. I need to find a place to live. And you go and you apply for a place to live, and they say, nope. Your conviction means you will not get housing. Ask yourself, what would you do if you were that individual? No house, no job, no education. There are no options.
Senator Myrie, your time is up.
So I plead, not just with my colleagues, but for every New Yorker who is listening. Clean Slate is a jobs bill, it's an education bill, it is a housing bill, it is the right thing to do, and I am so proud to vote in the affirmative. Thank you.